We're going to be dealing with the scripture in Psalm 98. It's very applicable because it gives us an understanding of how God treats his creation. And so Psalm 98 verse 9 says, "Before the Lord, for he is coming to judge the earth. He will judge the world with righteousness and the peoples with equity." So as we spoke in Romans, God has ordained the higher powers. The Geneva Bible 1599 translated that word higher powers magistrates, like the judges that are in control. So those judges are sitting there. The problem is when we're in there, you're basically obligated in the legal world to show up because you've taken on a responsibility that you assumed was yours. And this has a lot to do with why we're going to talk about the prodigal son in Luke 15, because I do not believe people are reading the Bible with spiritual eyes. They've been reading it with legal eyes, not with spiritual eyes. The spiritual eyes will open up the legal to you to see what's really going on. But Caesar looks after what is Caesar's, and when you, as a stranger to a legal contract, step in, you do that by your own consent, and therefore you're like the prodigal son who asked for a share of the father's estate to go and do as he pleased with it. And the problem with that is the father was the ultimate trustee. He wanted to take over that father's role, and he removed a share of that estate, and then he was in management of it. So therefore, he's not the beneficiary anymore, he's a trustee. And he did that by assumption, but the father allowed him to go and see whether or not he would learn from that journey, of which we're going to read about. But just before we do, in the meaning of the word prodigal, the word prodigal comes from the Latin pro, forward, and agere, to drive, to consume. Now, it's not by chance that the Registrar General, at least in Canada, the Registrar General for Canada is the head of Consumer and Corporate Affairs. So they manage all the ones who say, give me a share, I want to take a share of the estate. This is the bond. I want to take responsibility as a trustee for this. Even though I'm not, I'm acting by assumption because I was never brought into power of office. You're not an official, but this is an official document. And you're taking on official assumptive title, even though you're not. And therefore, you're doing what the prodigal son did in Luke chapter 15, where he asked to take the share, even though he wasn't in authority to manage it. And so therefore, this is the journey that we're all dealing with right now. And if you believe that that system is damaging you, it's correcting you. God has left things in place to make sure that the governance is done properly. And unfortunately, we're interfering. So if you look at even the role of Consumer and Corporate Affairs, which the Registrar General, at least for Canada, it says it's the Department of Consumer and Corporate Affairs was established in 1967 to bring together under one minister the administering of federal policies regulating the marketplace. Its responsibilities include consumer affairs, corporations, corporate securities, combines, mergers, monopolies, and restraint of trade, bankruptcy and insolvency, patents, copyrights, trademarks, and industrial design. I think that kind of covers it. You go to Samuel Johnson's dictionary, 1755, and you'll find that the word consumer was defined those who waste and destroy. I think I'm seeing the evidence of that out there right now. They're really holding back. These government referees or overseers are holding back basically these prodigal sons who are taking on a responsibility that they have no acumen to manage, and therefore have assumed a role. Assume is deceit. You were never placed in that position, and then they asked for it. So it's not by chance that when you looked up a token of value, which they called the birth certificate, in Canada, or at least the provinces, valuable token. The token is an extract, but it's the definition of it showed up under counterfeit token of value. Certainly, I would give a prodigal son a counterfeit token of value so it doesn't blow the whole estate. So you never really had anything. You just thought you had legal title. And the next videos are going to understand what happens with this prodigal son jury.